Hello everyone. I hope that short video gave you a flavour of what we're facing today in the world of wildlife. My name is Jack Bochet. I'm a conservationist. I run a company called Tears for Tigers Travel. We look at the role of tourism in travel and how it can elevate the wildlife's worth through getting tourists to go and visit these amazing places to see wildlife. We're currently going through a major conservation crisis, and the reason being is the markets in China and Vietnam are killing wildlife for profits. They use various products in medicinal medicine. Tiger bones, for instance, are ground up into a powder and used as a cake mixture. Rhino horn is used as an aphrodisiac, and it's been ingrained in their tradition and the culture for years and years and years. So it's something now that it's getting to a point where these species will be going extinct. Just to give you an idea of how bad it all is, by the time Johnny, Wade and I have finished talking, we would have lost another elephant, for instance, in Africa. We're using an elephant every 15 minutes. So it's a serious problem which needs to be addressed. It's not just these amazing animals that we have an emotion for, but they're also very, very important natural resources on our planet. You know, you think that one elephant produces 1 ton of manure every week, which fertilizes seeds, which cross-pollinates and grows into trees, which feed the monkeys. So it's more than just losing elephants, tigers, rhinos, snow leopards and the such. The guys that are behind all of this are highly organized international gangs. They work all over the world. They pick areas with weaknesses. The way I sort of look at it is if you think of a large vacuum sitting over the planet, if the wildlife is not held down with protection through poachers and special forces, then it's gone. They're very, very highly trained, organized gangs and know exactly what they're doing, and there are links to terrorism and to drugs, so it's a big issue. We've, over the last 6 months, the three of us have been talking about where the money's going to go initially. I'm going to hand over to Johnny and Wade in a minute, who are going to talk about just how we want the music industry can get involved and what we can do. Initially, we'll be focusing on 2 charities in Africa, Rhino Conservation in Botswana, which is looking at the repopulation of the Okavango Delta, and also Lion Guardians in Kenya, who do wonderful work with communities and to aid the mass killings of lions in Kenya. Music could be a fantastic voice for these species. So I look to help you educate the crowd and also raise awareness for these wonderful animals. Wade, if you want to sort of...
Morning, everyone. Thanks for coming down. Firstly, I just want to say thanks to Ben, although I don't see him here at the moment, and IMS for allowing us to have this platform to announce the charity. Johnny and I have been talking about this for a couple of years now, and I guess it came through the frustration of, I've come from South Africa, so it's been part of my DNA, I suppose, all my life being around these animals, and just seeing the mass destruction of the rhino population, the lions, the elephants, the entire poaching industry in South Africa and Africa on a whole, and the trophy hunting, etc. Once we saw this, getting onto Facebook and getting into the public eye, we're like, something has to be done about it, and we reckon that through the voice that we have with Pulse Radio and with Johnny's voice within the DJ industry, or the music industry, we thought may as well, give back to the industry and do something for the charitable cause. the way we're doing this is we're not actually setting it up as a charity itself, but we're going to be working with two charities, like Jack said, the Lions Guardian and the Rhino Foundation. And we're going to look after two charities where we'll be looking to the music industry to support these two charities, and at the end of the year, whichever charity raises the most money, they will stay on for the second year, and throughout the year, we'll look to the public to help us to select which charities they want to support. That's just the one we'll be looking after it, and then Johnny's got an initiative of his own which he'll be raising. Do you want to talk about that, Johnny?
Yeah. I'm just going to read off this because I'm not much of a public speaker. I guess, first and foremost, how are we going to rally the support of the industry? We're going to start with what we know and who we know, which is our little sector of the music business, and eventually grow to hopefully garner support of the music industry at large. The reality is that electronic music has become a global industry, as we all know, that reaches literally millions. Artists have their own fan bases that can be anywhere from a couple thousand people to millions via their socials, and both numbers are significant. There's real celebrity in just the underground sector of electronic music alone, and that's a powerful tool that's virtually untapped in regards to putting it to work for wildlife conservation, and that's really the basis of this entire project. So that's where we're going to start. So we've developed what we call the MAAC Ambassador Program, and this is just exactly what it sounds like. It's basically a menu with a list of various choices for artists and promoters to choose from and to decide to what extent they would like to get involved if they should decide to get involved. This program ranges from less involved initiatives like promoting MAAC and spreading the word to their fan base via artwork or news pieces on socials, to donating content like exclusive productions or mixes or memorabilia that can be used as fundraising merchandise, all the way up to participating in fundraisers and DJing at MAAC-produced events, and even organizing their own fundraising initiatives with our support. We understand it's really difficult to contribute a ton of time to projects outside of what artists are already involved in with respect to their own careers. But I can tell you, considering the fact that we haven't even launched this project yet, and the only visibility that it's really seen is via the PR I've done for Social Experiment Records, which contributes all of the profits to MAAC. I was really surprised to see how many friends and artists had already approached me and offered to get involved and want us to let them know when we'll be ready to start getting people involved, as well as promoters who have offered to do fundraising events around the world already. So we're more than optimistic about what we're going to be able to achieve here. The next thing I want to talk about is sort of a project that we set up under the umbrella of MAAC called Guerrilla Tactics. As you know, we've set up this organization with our main objective being wildlife conservation in Africa. These are big issues that draw international concern, and we're talking about diminishing populations of various species and in some cases extinction, and those require quite big picture sort of mentality when it comes to conservation. But this is about animal cruelty in general. I think anyone that's had a close relationship with an animal or a family pet or their own animals understands that each individual life really matters, same as any humans does. And it's not always about saving a species as a whole. Sometimes there's just one animal that needs our help. And that's an important distinction to make. There's no difference between the value of the life of one human or one dog or one elephant. So Guerrilla Tactics was set up to support smaller and more urgent initiatives outside of the two charities that we chose to support annually, whether it's supporting an organization on a rescue mission to the Yulin Dog Meat Festival in China, or medical attention or transport of one animal. These are all really important initiatives, and there are situations where maybe even $1,000 can decide whether or not the mission will be possible or whether or not an individual animal lives or dies with very little notice. So I wanted to be able to say, you know, I've just learned that there's a situation that requires some immediate funding, and decide that maybe one of my shows on a tour at the end of the month is going to be in support of this initiative and activate some fundraising off the cuff. For example, when I'm on a trip to Kenya at the end of June, I'm going to be meeting with Michael Dyer on Borana Conservancy, because I learned that there may be an opportunity to fund and track and collar a lion, so that this particular pride, which doesn't have a collar on any lion in the pride, can be tracked. And so what that means is rangers will be able to track them and keep the pride from wandering too close to an area where they might be at risk, like too close to a farm where farmers are forced to kill lions if they're threatening their livestock, and will also kill them in retaliation for whatever losses they suffer. That's actually a much larger problem than you would believe out there. So seemingly small initiatives like this still need funding, and the money has to come from somewhere. So that's just an example of how these independent initiatives can work and be of help. This trip to Kenya that I'm taking at the end of June, by the way, is hosted by one of our brand partners called the Nile Culture, which is a wildlife conservation and art and lifestyle organization run by my fiance, Kirsten Brophy, who's a certified safari guide and hosts private educational safaris throughout Africa. So this has allowed us to offer privately guided safaris at a significant discount for people who want to get involved and travel to conservancies and learn about everything firsthand. This is also set up to give artists the opportunity to go down there and make their own mini documentaries with local videographers and photographers who we work with on the ground there, so they can build their own content and help get the word out there as well. Lastly, we're really excited to say that we're officially launching everything, including the MAAC website, on July 1st in Kenya, with the first ever official MAAC event fundraiser in support of Lion Guardian. And there'll be 3 local artists performing, along with a good friend of mine called The Legend. And of course, I'll be playing as well. And that's the jump off. Then we begin saving some animals. Thanks.